Hey everybody, my name is Pluto, and welcome to a very overdue commentated video. I got the star on February 20th of this year. It is April 10th, so the end of February, the entirety of March, and the very beginning of April, I just didn't commentate this thing. Why did I not do that? Part of it was I forgot. Another part of it is that I haven't had as much free time to be home alone and actually commentate, which I want to be home alone when I commentate, so that has sort of led to me putting off this video forever. But yeah, for the past over a month and a half, I've become the second person to complete Super Mario Endless Journey 100%, and here I am to tell the tale about a star that I got 1.5 months ago that I hopefully still remember. I should remember it. I don't have the worst memory in the world. So this is Akira's level, what's it called, like Aberrant, Abrasive ability, something weird like that. One of those really weird esoteric naming conventions. Yeah, Aberrant, Abrasive ability right there. And I paused. This is Akira's level in the game. It's not made by, well, the person who made the rest of the levels, which was Yuka. So yeah, it's a bit of a different experience from the rest of the game, but I still like this level. It has a couple issues, but overall I think it's a nice level. At the beginning we saw a bit of a cheese there. I used some firsties to climb up on that pillar so that way I could avoid having to do the Star 1 path. That was a cool little thing discovered by Remu, which makes it a bit easier. Remu is the other person who had this game 100%. For the most part, the star is going to be a bunch of elaborate sequences of tricky wall kicks. Well, not for them. Yeah, it's a large part of the star, but there's a bit more to it than just that. But there are a lot of wall kicks, but that's to be expected. It's a level by Akira. he does like a good brutal wall kick sequence. Its beginning is not too hard, although it is easy to get stuck here. That's just kind of the nature of it, but you want to be able to get attempts consistently because there's one particular section which is very inconsistent that we'll get to. And besides that, this level also has a very chokeable ending, which I got decently unlucky with. But the main thing with this level is that I struggled to get attempts going, is the main thing. I couldn't really, I kept dying to silly things, or I would get decently far and then I'd mess up a really dumb part. I believe my worst choke was a 13 out of 16, which died to a jump that isn't even that bad. I just kind of did a dummy move. So, not the farthest choke you could have, but still very unfortunate, considering what I died to, not once, but I believe twice. So yeah. If you want to be cool, you can do some cool movement to save some time there, but I had died to it, so I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to do it the normal way. And now we have some diverging paths. We're going to head over up here first to do this path. This is how it works out. This level has a lot of cool little set pieces for jumps, pretty much. There's some cool things. Here's another cheese. You can long jump over here and land on these slopes. You kind of need to land on the slopes with the right speed so that way you can turn around without ledge grabbing or sliding off the slope. That can definitely be a tricky maneuver to get down, but not the hardest thing in the world. I always like sections like this where we have invisible gameplay, but there's markers on the wall. This is actually what I wish Final Tragedy Triple Invis was. I wish it was like this with markers on the wall that you could use. I think that'd be really cool. I also am a big fan of the lava section with high speed. It's really awkward to control because it's hard to explain or even understand exactly how controlling your speed works on fast lava like that, but you kind of just have to get a feel for it. There was actually quite a few jumps in this level that were really sketchy, but the way I got good at them was just I just practiced them and got a general feel for it, which I never doing because having that vague oh, you know, my muscle memory will carry me is kind of hard to rely on, especially in a game like this where you really don't want to rely on that because there's just so many little factors which can change how a jump works, but yeah, it works out for the most part. We're getting those red coins quick, however there's still a decent amount of the star. The star is not too long, thankfully. I mean, it's only 19 minutes or so, so not too bad. It's even shorter than C12 reds, but it's a decent length, and the beginning kind of, you know, puts the illusion that it's shorter than it is, because we already have 7 of the reds, but it's going to take longer to get the remaining ones. For one, we have to do this path, which is mostly not too bad, but this is actually the path that had that one inconsistent jump I was talking about, so yeah, this is definitely, pretty much, if you get here, it's this is where it's the attempt is okay, if I can get past this segment, then we have an attempt going, pretty much. This whole beginning was just like, you can get really good at that, super consistent, not too bad. But this is where it gets tough. The start is quite difficult. It's like a tier 7 or so, which puts it around Joy or Sorrow Reds, which sounds kind of crazy because when I first got Joy or Sorrow Reds, it was like such a big deal and such a big grind, and now like a star that's about Joy or Sorrow Reds in difficulty is like a couple days worth of effort at most. It kind of shows how much I've improved with this game over the years, which is always a nice feeling. Have these little tricky wall kicks here. Mostly just memorizing exactly what you want to do there. This is pretty much a repeatable loop, but here it extends a bit further, so have to be careful. You can get a nice angle there, very comfy. My number one thing with wall kicks like that is I want to hit angles that are comfortable, ones that I'm like familiar with, like feel like stuff I've done before. So that's kind of like how you want to strategize for those. It's just like you want to hit the wall kick angles that are comfy, because being comfortable is like super important for consistency. Speaking of consistency, this is the jump I was talking about that's really inconsistent. I tried a lot of different strategies for this jump, and they were all somewhat inconsistent. The one, this jump is just like really weird. Well, actually, this is not even the jump. What am I talking about? I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. First, we need to detour for this red coin. I forgot about this red coin because it's so insignificant. It's just like, it's like totally free. But after this, we do have to do the rest of the path, so I will actually have to talk about the jump. But basically, I tried a lot of different things about it, but it's kind of just like, it's just so silly. It's so silly. It's, ugh. It's like a nearly frame perfect jump. I don't know if it's actually frame perfect, but it's like nearly frame perfect. And like in order to do it, it's like super hard because it's like you're landing on a slope with speed and you need to land high enough on the slope that you have enough speed to maybe like squeak out a second frame of input, and even then it's like the wall kick's tight. It's just like, it is such a terrible jump. It's like the one thing that I really dislike about this level is this fucking jump. I toyed around with a ton of different strats, tons of different visual cues, and it's just so inconsistent. First, of course, we need the arch. So, the one we settled on was this strategy, which involved using a visual cue for the arch in order to get enough momentum that the jump is relatively lenient. But that strategy was not easy by any means. It was still very difficult. It was just the most consistent strategy, but it's like the least smelly piece of garbage. Like it all sucks, but it's like that one was the one that like I had the most success with, so it's what we went with. You can see the chat complaining about, or Red Slim complaining about the jumping cringe, the dies of cringe jump. It's just so stupid. It killed so many attempts, but which is what made it frustrating when I would die past it to something stupid, because it's like, come on man, it's so hard to get past there. This is another wall kick sequence where you mostly want to rely on getting comfy wall kicks. This one's a little bit more awkward than the last one though, because there's a lot weirder wall shapes, so you kind of need to be careful there. That red coin's kind of impossible to grab, but thankfully there's a shell, so it'll be less impossible in a second. That's an interesting description of shells on quicksand. This might look a little awkward, but you can actually just hold left and it's fine. You'll slide in there without having to worry about anything. And now we have a bit of a mini skip. By using the D-pad to get some momentum on the slope, I can turn around at the right moment here, which I use with some pausing. And with the correct angle, I can actually just slide across this entire thing and skip those little death floor jumps. Because that texture that kind of looks like the Minecraft like Lightstone or whatever it's called. I think it's called Lightstone, or the Glowstone or whatever. The stuff in Minecraft that glows, that stuff is a death floor. So it's like if you're over it at all, you die. So you have to jump around it. I didn't really explain that, but yeah. Something I've noticed is that I think Akro just loves using Death Floor a lot. Like I feel like he's used it in so many levels, which I'm not complaining about because I think it's a cool obstacle, but it's the kind of thing it's a fun observation. Here we have a bit of a break segment. This is definitely the least dangerous segment. There's not a whole lot of things you need to worry about in this area. The main scary thing is this jump because you need to hold A for the correct amount of time to get the triple jump there. If you under or overshoot it, you can be in big trouble, so you really want to watch out for that. If you overshoot it, you can at least ground pound, but if you undershoot it, you're not really going to survive. Here I do this in a bit of a clumsy way. I kill the heave ho, which seems unnecessary, and I also go all the way over here before jumping. The reason is because I once hit an invisible wall in practice, which I don't really know how to avoid that, so instead of risking it, I just stay above the ground at all times to avoid it. That's actually a pro tip in general. If you want to avoid invisible walls, you want to go for ledge grabs, and you don't want to jump over ledges. That tends to be how you can avoid most invisible walls in most situations. Another shell. Lots of shells in this level. Surprisingly, there's not that much cheese considering how many shells there are. Well, at least not that much discovered cheese. Use that slope to build up some speed. Go back up here. And now instead of doing the slope jumps, we're instead going to just do these wall kicks backwards, do them normally because we already have the red coin on the cone there. And now we have one of my favorite jumps in the level. We have this weird maneuver where you have to do like a big momentum jump across this gap. It's just really satisfying to pull this off. It feels really good. Such a cool jump. It's not too hard either, and there's actually a lot of backups that I found for it, which is really cool. Accidentally bonked there. That was a mistake. That tunnel might look a little scary, but keep in mind that like the way that you do that is you just have to push A at a rate of like once, or not once, like 6 times per second. This is a 60 FPS game. Wall kicks are a 5-frame window, so if you can push it 6 times per second at a consistent rate, then you'll hit every wall kick frame you need to, which is pretty nice. This is one of the jumps I died to. I backflipped too far back, which caused me to land in the quicksand without being able to wall kick. So I had to like reinforce the concept of not doing that dumb shit. That was such a stupid mistake. I really was upset about that one. This is another kind of tricky arch. If you slide off this arch, you can just do firsties up there on those walls. It's one of those firstie ratio walls where you don't actually need to get all firsties, you just need to get enough firsties and you gain more height than you lose. So in one attempt I did actually do that all the way up there because I slid off. That was a cool backup. And then here is the section that I died to twice. Not exactly this, but grabbing this damn red coin more so. These platforms are really thin and obviously you can't ledge grab them because they have slopes of quicksand on their side. So that's something you need to watch out for. Lining up at the edge here doesn't actually line you up fully with that platform, by the way. You have to hold up a bit, and then this red coin is also not lined up with the platform, so you also need to hold up and then back down a little bit. Just a tiny bit. You can land there, and then you need to not mess up this, which I believe I also messed up these wall kicks like an idiot, which was also frustrating. I had so many frustrating mistakes on this level, man. It's good to stay calm, but it can be really hard to stay calm when you make a lot of frustrating mistakes. And like usually if you make like a really big frustrating mistake, the #1 mistake you can make is like being overly angry at yourself for it. If you get really mad at yourself for a mistake, then you'll tend to make more mistakes like it. That's a really bad thing to do. You always want to try to avoid that if you can. For the most part, once you land here, you're kind of done with like a lot of the really hard stuff. This section always kind of gave me like mild anxiety because like I like never died to it in practice, which made me scared I was gonna mess it up in attempts because it always seems so sketchy, especially these QSOGs. Again, we have the death fork here, so you have to do these really weird like hooks around the ledges here, which can be a really uncomfortable maneuver to do. That was something I was always worried about, and I almost never died to it in practice, but it's like when you get that like one death in practice, it's almost like validating your fear, so you become more scared because you're worried it's going to happen again, and it's going to be an attempt and it's going to matter, which is something you never want to see. And yeah. So, the ending of the star doesn't have too much I need to really talk about, so for the most part I just want to talk about the hack. Endless Journey was a really good hack. I really liked it. It's probably my favorite Japanese Kaizo hack since Treasure World and Dream Edition, which putting Dream Edition in there is interesting because like my relationship with that game is kind of love-hate. but it's like this game was just really consistently good. There was a lot of levels that really stood out to me as great, like C8, C12 was very good for what it was. I also thought, what else I like? C7 was pretty cool. I really like C11, like G1 especially as well. G1 was a guest level by, I forget exactly who made it. It might have been, I don't know, but it was just a really good level. This game just had a lot of good levels, and there wasn't really like too many like bad parts to it per se. It's obviously not done yet. It only has 81 of the total stars, but what we have here is honestly really good, and I think a full version of this hack could be really exciting. So I definitely hope a full version comes out one day, because this hack was awesome with what's here. It's really, really good, in my opinion at least. And it seems like I'm kind of being validated in that because other people are playing it and enjoying it, which is really good. At the time of me talking about this, there's a new Japanese Kaizo called Invasion of Chuckya, which I also want to play. I've been a bit distracted by other things, namely I Want to Be the Guy fan games, which I've been grinding a lot of, but I do want to obviously still play Mario 64. I still have a passion for the game, and making this video is like step one to coming back to my Mario 64 roots, and really playing my favorite game in the world that I never play for some reason. Hey, what can you do? Here I get a bunch of firsties in a row. This is another firstie ratio section. You just need to get more firsties than not, so that way you don't lose height. Not too hard. Alright, ledge grab. And then we just have this. This is pretty much like the last scary jump. This is another thing where you kind of just need to get the muscle memory for it. There's not really any super good visual cues for this crazy box section. You kind of just get a feel for what directions to hold in the analog stick and when, and it lines up pretty well. There I kind of did it actually perfectly. This is also kind of a sketchy thing, this ledge grab. So yeah, once you get here, you kind of just need to take it slow. Slow and steady wins the race. Double long jump. Gotta do this again, so first I need to get the last red coin. There's a 1 red coin up here. Pretty easy to grab. And this is the ending of the star. There's nothing really much to comment on, so yeah, that's the commentary. Hope you all enjoyed. Sorry this video was so late. Hope you guys don't mind too much. And yeah, I hope to see you guys soon. Hopefully I'll have something worth uploading soon. Yeah, see you guys next time. Bye. Yes, 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 yes. No more chokes, dude. No more fucking chokes. Oh, yes. I should probably go to the title screen to show the score page. There you go. There's a score page.